Susan Furness.
Tarek, how are you? I'm very, very well. Thank you for having me here today.
Thank you for being here.
Filling me with joy already.
Thank you for being here. You wanna, first of all, thank you to be part of the MBRF podcast. And time is limited, as you know. Normally with the podcast, it's all about giving the guest as much time as possible, and the more time you give them, the more brilliance they bring out, especially when it's someone as brilliant as you are. Tell us, what do you do? Tell the audience, what do you do?
Well, Tarek, I think we're like-hearted and like-minded. Like you, I really enjoy communications. And so much so that my years of being a communicator and sometimes a bit of a rambler is that I found that there's real currency in communications, and in fact, currency in conversation. Because of course there's different energies of communication, isn't there? We can dialogue, we can debate, we can tell, we can sell, we can argue, we can dictate, or we can have a conversation. And for me, that real currency lies in conversation. Just like today here at the Knowledge Summit, we found currency in knowledge. You know, currency comes in all shapes and forms, doesn't it? So I'm with you about using conversation in order to get us to be a collective, and a generative conversation at that. It doesn't have to have a beginning and an end. It's organic, and that's what fills me with joy.
I can feel that. I really can. You know, they say when conversation ends, when it stops, when it comes to a halt, that's when trouble starts. You agree?
Well, if dialogue ends, that's when trouble could start. But let's talk about conversation and me mooting just now that perhaps it's generative, it's ongoing. So if we take that the intention of the conversation is to have impact, and indeed to have extraordinary impact, then my intention is in fact that the trouble doesn't start when the conversation ends. Indeed, that the conversation is nourishing the ongoing amplification of the collective. And within that builds the community and the communityship, community first, just like in some ways we do right here in the United Arab Emirates and here in Dubai. You know, our cohorts of community conversations create the one communityship, as we're seeing here in the Knowledge Summit today.
Brilliant. You told me earlier something that made me stop. Just before we started, and I told you, stop. I want to hear it in the podcast. A relationship between comms and spirituality? Is that where you took me?
Thank you. Yes, I did. Thank you for bringing that in. I'm a little bit of an alternative or unconventional communication strategist these days. Why these days? Because actually I have been so fortunate to have landed in the Arabian Gulf in 43 years ago, 1981, and when I swapped the River Thames in London for Bahrain and the waters surrounding Bahrain. And then in 1992, Dubai Creek was my fluidity. And during that time, I've been able to grow my career in traditional public relations and brand building, and it's been amazing. So
Since
when I came into
1992 in Dubai.
In 1992, and of course there were only 3 or 4 PR agencies at that time. In fact, Asda, with our wonderful Sunil John, hadn't even grown. We were all in the market.
That's where I started.
Yes.
Well, not in 1992, but I started sometime after that.
Did you? When did you start?
2006.
Well, that was an interesting period, of course. Just those 24 months before the global financial crisis. So let's go back into your inquiry. So yeah, I come from a traditional legacy communications background here in the emerging markets of Arabia, and it has been amazing. And in fact, emergence is what excites me. And of course, we're here today to discuss the future too. As I'm coming into my own next chapter, so you can now add up how old I might be. I was 22 in 1981. My next chapter really is about how do we integrate different intelligences so that we can really get a currency from communications. Because if we take the word currency, Tarek, as you and I know, it's current. And current means energy. Yeah, or now.
Oh, yes,
gosh, yes. Tarek, you got the other one now. And of course, if we're looking for news, we use the acronym NEWS, news, which is north, east, west, south. The compass, news is everywhere. But how do we, as communicators, find news that is not going to add to this crowded, clouded marketplace? It's not going to become add more content obesity and goodness me, information starvation, but indeed that we're able to use authoritative information voice that's both useful and helpful to this ongoing generative conversation. So I'm in that space now. Back to your point, what am I using for it? In 2008, 2 years after you entered the marketplace, and I was running Euro RSCG Furness, which is my name. So I was part of the Habas group. The global financial crisis came in, and my colleagues at Habas and I around the world were looking at how we're going to really hold on to all this energetics that's happening and take care of our teams, take care of the market, and with the leaders here grow. And so I asked the question, is this the way we're doing it? And the answer came, spiritual intelligence. I went out into the world and I found, actually, there are 21 skills of spiritual intelligence. And I hear them spoken on the stages here today. And the two key ones, Tarek, are compassion and wisdom. The little wings of compassion and wisdom that come in to keep us centered at all times. And if we go back to the currency of communications, are we centered if we're having a debate? Are we centered if we're having an argument? Are we centered if we're having a conversation? So that's how now, as an unconventional communication strategist, I'm committed to bringing in strategy, spirituality, intuition, compassion, and wisdom in emerging tech. Because now we have an intelligence, don't we, that's artificial, which I love, by the way. Thank you, AI, my agents. You know, we'll be working now how to guide our agents. So thank you, AI. But it's also given me the opportunity to speak out more bravely, to find the courage to speak out and say, if we are sitting at the boardroom table and indeed the kitchen table, talking about an intelligence that's artificial, let's bring out intelligences that are real, but we keep hidden. Spirituality.
Why in Dubai?
Why am I in Dubai?
No, why is this conversation important to have here in Dubai? You've mentioned 1992, and for those who haven't seen Dubai in 1992 or in 2000, and have seen the growth that happened in Dubai, I think I need to elaborate on the question for others who are not from here and haven't seen what happened here during that era of 2000 till 2024. We've seen Dubai transform several times over, and it's like, you know, you used liquid when you spoke. You spoke about the river in England, and then the sea in Bahrain, and then the creek in Dubai. And I think the constant flow of
the current,
it resembles what Dubai has been to us, because we've seen it. It's like it's constantly moving, and it's moving smoothly. So why is this conversation important to have here in the summit in Dubai?
Well, when you asked me that question, you saw I went in for the minute. Did you see that? And that was genuine. Because when I walked in this hall this morning and I walked down to my right, there's the most amazing holographic picture of Sheikh Rashid bin Saeed. And I stood there in appreciation and prayer. And his eyes follow us if we go to that picture. And please go and do a camera shot. It's amazing. So your inquiry takes me back round to being a 22-year-old, a 26-year-old, a 32-year-old during that decade, that first of my decade in Arabia, in Bahrain. And Bahrain was the emerging market of the Arabian Gulf, of the Middle East in those days. And we passed the baton onto the UAE, or there was a baton passing. And of course, we now work in community together, all of the Arabian Gulf states. And that was with the guidance of Sheikh Rashid bin Saeed, which, thank goodness, I was able to meet His Royal Highness, His Highness, and be part of the teams at that time that have opened up what we're all seeing today. But why today? And why me? And why everything? Before I became a communicator, I left school at 16, actually, and went straight in to train to be a fashion buyer. And in 1981, when I got the opportunity to go and work in Bahrain, I went to work for the Jashamal Group as a buyer. It wasn't until only a few years ago, Tarek, that I realized to be a buyer, a fashion buyer, to put items in the department store in 6 or 9 months' time, you need to be a futurist. I didn't realize it at the age of 22 or 16, but later I looked through the lens, the backward lens, and saw. So why the excitement? Why Dubai? Why now? I love emergence, but emergence needs a safe container, a safe space. We need to feel held. And our leaders here make me feel held. They know that acts of love and kindness evoke acts of love and kindness in others. And that's why I see, back to flow and river and water, the currency of love and kindness just fueling and nourishing the currency of love and kindness. Because as we know, every year, Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid now calls us together and tells us what the vision is, not just for the next year, the tactical deployment of the next year, but also the strategic intention, as we said earlier, not necessarily the objective, the intention, not necessarily the outcome, Tarek, although we've got an index that we're looking at today, the knowledge index. It's a tangible outcome, output, but really more the impact of that intention and all this collective impact in an emerging market that is constantly emerging. Change equals growth and growth equals change. You have to love growth and you have to love change because the two together equal transformation, and we need to transform. So that's why I feel that it's not just Dubai. Dubai has that community first, that ripples out. We're supported, of course, by our federal emirate, by Abu Dhabi, doing, just an amazing foundation for the UAE and the world. And may I share with you that I actually live in Ras Al Khaimah, and I've lived there for 4 years, since during the curious Corona time. And I have a little acronym there as well, DC, during Corona, BC, before Corona, and where are we now? AC.
Yeah.
AC.
After
so from
Corona.
BC to AC. How wonderful is that? But Ras Al Khaimah, of course, with wonderful Sheikh Saud bin Saeed, is just an amazing place to be too, that's emerging. And of course, the relationship between our emirates is just so, wow, it's just so authentic and so conscious. I've just been to a session with Maria Hargo where she talked about conscious leadership. So I think probably, if I stop rambling now, the core to the answer to your question is conscious leadership. And if it comes from the top, which it is, and if it came from the beginning, Sheikh Rashid bin Saeed,
still carries on till
it's still
now.
carrying on till now. That's the current that our creek is carrying for us.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for this. Time is up, unfortunately. There is a lot more that I would have loved to talk about.
Another
Susan,
time, Tarek.
But I know we will have our other opportunities to carry on this current and take it forward.
Thank you so much.
Susan, thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you, Tarek, for the opportunity for you all.
So,
without you guys putting the voice in the world, we have no channel.
Thank you. So thank you, MBRF podcast audience. That was Susan Furness. Thank you, Susan.
You're welcome.